Lake Lewis does a great job covering the NFL and the Redskins for USA Today. Also got the Wizards in his backyard as well with the NBA playoffs among us. Kind enough to join us for a couple of moments. How you been, pal?
Hey, what's going on, Q? How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. Good to always talk with you. How are things going?
Good. And listen, congrats on the new hours. Proud of you, man. You know you deserve that. And if it was up to me, man, you have 4 or 5 hours a day.
Well, I appreciate that. Hey, listen, I can talk. I wouldn't mind that. That day will come, as they say. You got the NBA playoffs right around the corner. Let's get into that before we hit on a little bit of the NFL. All right, what's the sentiment with the Wizards in your backyard? Can they make a little noise here?
They can. And actually, as crazy as it sounds, I like them in the position they're in as a 4 seed because they're going to play Atlanta, a team that they play well against. And we remember a couple of years ago, had John Wall not broken his hand, I do believe they would have beaten Atlanta in that playoff series as well. So I think they get by Atlanta. I think they get by Atlanta in 6. And then I think that they're going to have Cleveland up next. I think Cleveland will beat Toronto. And I think the Wizards, out of any team in the Eastern Conference, for whatever reason, and I'm not saying this because I'm here in this market, the Wizards match up against Cleveland. And
I agree.
They lost on the overtime game here a month ago when LeBron threw up that, Hail Mary basically and hit the shot 10 in overtime. But then they follow that up a week and a half later playing in Cleveland. No one sat. It was, full tilt. Everybody played 30, 35 minutes, and they destroyed Cleveland in Cleveland. So they feel pretty good about a matchup with them. So I do think they can make a run in the East. The irony is, if they were to play Boston, they fare well against Boston. Yeah. So the East is wide open. I don't think it's Cleveland's to automatically pencil them in the Eastern in the NBA Finals. I don't see that this year.
I think, well, two things. I've been talking up the Wizards. I agree with you. I think they can potentially be. I know the playoff pedigree's not there per se, but right. I always believe in the backcourt. I know it's a different animal when you talk about that in March Madness realm, but still. And I think it would be a great matchup with Cleveland. And to kind of further your point, I think Cleveland gets through the Eastern Conference, but you can talk about whether LeBron's still logging too many minutes. They're getting older. He's running the show. They want to rest players. They're not mentally ready to go. The defense stinks. They have these fourth-quarter laps. It just seems as though something is flat out off with this team. Now, again, how many times have we said that over the years? And then in the NBA playoffs, they ratchet it up. But if you're playing horrible defense throughout the season, it's tough sometimes to ratchet up that intensity.
Yeah, and I don't think this is one of those things. I think a lot of people out there think that Cleveland will sleep off through the regular season, and they're just going to hit that magic switch and turn it on. They're a horrible defensive basketball team, and it starts in the front court because you think of Tristan Thompson. He's a rebounder, he's a dirty work guy, but Kevin Love's not a defender at all. And LeBron, for everything that he does great, he can't overexert himself on the defensive end like years past because they're going to need that offense on the other end. And then if you look at the backcourt, I mean, J.R. Smith's a shooter, Kyrie Irving is a shooter, and perhaps the worst defensive point guard in the NBA. Yep. So, he's one of my favorite players, but we're just talking about all the great things he does on the offensive side of the ball. And then if the flip side is you look at this team here, the Wizards, I've been saying this all year, John Wall should absolutely, unequivocally have his name just mentioned once or twice in the MVP race. Obviously, he's not the MVP. We know that should be Russell Westbrook and Harden second, Kawhi Leonard third. But John Wall's having a top 5 type season, and he's been doing that all year. Isaiah Thomas, another guy. I think those two guys are clearly the best 2-point guards in the East.
Who comes out, before I get your MVP thoughts in the NBA, who comes out of the West? Is it San Antonio or is it Golden State?
No, it's Golden State. It's an afterthought. I mean, San Antonio, for everything they do well, when they play Golden State, they look like an older team. And now you have Durant back, and, he's going to have fresh legs, so to speak. I mean, just I just don't see the only team that's going to be Golden State is themselves, and that's all the way through for a championship.
And that's if they have that series where all of a sudden you got the three bigs, right, that are off shooting. I mean, we've seen that. That kind of, yeah.
I mean,
it's the argument is beat them in a 7-game series. It's just like it's hard for me to imagine whether Cleveland's got to play Boston in a Game 7, how Boston wins that game. You know, Cleveland's got that pedigree. They've been there before.
Yeah, well, you know what though, Q? If you look at Golden State, this is real simple. Last year when they lost to Cleveland, first of all, the NBA had a hand in that. Let's not forget that. But secondly, they lost that series because they didn't have a guy that could get his own shot off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for everything great that Steph and Klay Thompson does, the Splash Brothers, they're spot shooters, and they could not, just be able to create a shot when they needed it in the crunch. So you solved that now by perhaps getting one of the best ever who can get his own shot off because he's, basically 6'11", 7 feet, and Kevin Durant. And that's the wild card now. Wild card is when they need a bucket and they desperately have to have one, he's going to have the ball, not Steph. And I think that's what propels them, ultimately to win the whole thing.
Does it matter to you that Oklahoma City and Russell Westbrook don't have a, quote, good seeding in the playoffs, and that all of a sudden should take away from perhaps MVP votes? I think it's ludicrous. I agree. I had James about a month or so ago, but then really watching what Westbrook has done, triple-doubles aside, he is that offense. So I would give him the slight edge. Would I scream bloody murder and foul if Harden won it? No, but I think Russell Wilson just...
I would.
Would you really? Why? Because of the historic ramifications of the season?
Listen. That team, when Durant left, there were people, saying literally they may want to just move the team away from Oklahoma City because they're nothing now. This guy has taken this team, talking about Westbrook, has taken a team and made them a 6 seed. And they were only a couple games out from being, a 4 seed. We're talking about a guy that has the 29th ranked offense in the NBA, and yet he's averaging a triple-double. Somebody still has to catch the ball and shoot. I get that. But he's getting guys shots where they're just layups. I mean, he's getting guys the ball in the perfect spot. He's rebounding, which is absurd for a 6'4" guard to be doing that every night, 10 a night. And the intensity that he plays with every night, I mean, he's this generation's Kobe. I mean, that's how he plays. So for me to see what he's done, let alone the triple-double, which is one of the, the great sports feats of all time, I just don't see how you can deprive someone of doing that. And, oh, by the way, they play in the West, which isn't chopped liver. And I'm going to say this right now on your show today. They play Houston first round, right?
Yeah.
They're beating Houston.
I think it's a great. I think it's a great matchup. But here's the thing, right? You're not taking in consideration playoff basketball. It's a regular season vote. I think it's a great matchup where you're going to have the mano a mano. It might harken back to Bird and Dominique back in '88 in that series. Throw defense out the window. I like Westbrook as well. I give him the edge. Couple minutes with Lake Lewis again, covers the Redskins for USA Today, as well as with the NBA in his backyard with the Wizards. All right, let's switch gears to the NFL. Senior VP of officiating, Dean Blandino, is going to step down. Now, look, that leaves the league now. They have to pursue other options here, and that also he's going to pursue other opportunities, most likely TV. We always talk about the officiating in the NFL, and it's always that what in the world moot point. Why are you coming out on a Monday to admit all these mistakes? I mean, does this shake up the fact that he's stepping down? Is this really going to cause more concern with the officiating going forward?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I don't even think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to be, and not anything to do against Dean because he's, great guy for the league, for all those years.
I think it's more because of his name always, it resonates every week, right? Yeah.
It does. And for us to cover the teams, that that's the guy that a lot of stuff goes through. You understand that. But the NFL is the NFL. For every person that steps away, there's 5 waiting in the wings to be replaced. And it's a marketing machine. They're not going to do anything to ruin well, let me rephrase that because I do think the guy that runs the NFL has ruined their brand, but that's a whole other subject.
I agree. He hasn't helped. He's made them a lot of money monetarily.
He has, but he's definitely shaken up the brand a little bit. But I think in terms of Blandino, I think that what happens is they'll probably I don't think this is something he just woke up and decided to do.
I don't think so
there probably
either.
was a plan in place and someone that the league may have already been thinking about just in case something like that could happen. So I don't think they're going to miss a beat at all. I really don't. And for it to be talked about on a Friday and a Thursday, it really wasn't talked about as much as it could have been.
No, you're right. Sticking with the NFL for a couple more minutes with the NFC East, we know what's transpiring in Washington. Look, I think when you look at the NFC East, the Giants lose Hankins, but they got better. The Eagles on paper got better. Dallas, subtraction with their defense. And then Washington, you lose the weapons in Garcon, Jackson. And you almost feel for Kirk Cousins because no matter what, it seems as though, I don't want to say he's set up to fail. He's going to go about his business. Well, he's going to go about his business. Listen, you turn around and you got the issue with the GM. You don't even have a GM anymore. I mean, so I mean, honestly, how can he's going to bank the money. He's going to be there. He's going to play every Sunday. But it just seems as though that franchise from a couple years ago to being on the rise.
Come
on, complete dysfunction.
But the irony of this is, and this is a team I cover every day. I'm just going to say this. Deshaun's a friend. Pierre, his agent, I'm cool with them. But the fact of the matter is, to call it what it was, they were not locker room leaders in any way, shape, or form. And I think the Redskins have been missing that person for years. Trent Williams is a stand-up guy, but, Trent Williams' history of his suspension. So, how much respect is that going to garner? They want Kirk Cousins to be not just the face, but they need Kirk to be the rah-rah guy. And I think he's growing into that role. But this whole notion.
Okay, hold on a second. Then why not lock him up long term?
Because it's the Redskins, and the Redskins are traditionally they're known for lowballing everyone. That's just what they do. They lowball their own and overpay the outsiders. That's what they do. However, I think in this situation, I truly believe as much as I'm not going to say anti-Bruce Allen, but I do think Bruce Allen has caused a huge problem here in D.C. with the antics. But
well,
let me
real quick. Let me cut you off for a minute. Go back a second. I know the Hainsworth deal was horrible. They gave him a lot of money. The same with Norman.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They overpay for other people's leftovers, and they don't take care of their own. They haven't been known to do that.
Okay,
and this
that's
is a prime example with Cousins. He was drafted by the team, developed by the team. Pay the man, and now because you didn't pay him when you were supposed to, you're going to have to overpay him to keep him. And the bottom line is the Redskins will pay Kirk Cousins the money that Kirk Cousins wants because they're in a no-win situation.
Yes, they are.
If this guy walks next year and goes to San Fran or wherever, he'll have the option to go. And let's just say he throws for another 4,000 plus, which he's probably going to do in his sleep because of the offense. And not to stray here, Q, but that's the whole point that I was going to make earlier. Forget about Deshaun and Pierre. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Yeah, they were 1,000-yard receivers, but they were also guys that disappeared in games, and they were also guys. And they're also guys, maybe I don't want to use the word disappeared. They weren't being called upon in certain games.
No, I think disappeared is fair because sometimes you need your best players to make plays. They have to find a way to get the ball.
Well, when they were given the ball, they made plays. But this is my whole point. The offense wasn't predicated on either one of them. The offense is about Jordan Reed, and then secondly, Jamison Crowder. That's the offense. And now they have, on the outside, they go from a team that had one receiver over 6 feet who didn't play all year. He played one game, Josh Doxson, to now 4 receivers on the outside, all over 6'2". It's a big difference, and I think the thinking behind that, Q, was Kirk Cousins isn't the type of quarterback to gamble. That's just not his game. He wants to have the perfect pass, the perfect open receiver to hit. He sees the field. He does all.
And when he gambles, he has those turnovers, like the last game of the season.
Turnovers. Yep. Right. So now you can gamble a little bit more with him when you have big guys that can go up and get the ball. And where did the Redskins struggle the most on offense? They were one of the most prolific offenses all year long, basically since Kirk Cousins has been quarterback. Between the 20s, they rival any team in the NFL as far as moving the ball up and down the field, even on top defenses. But when they get in the red zone And I, a good friend of mine plays on another team. He's a Pro Bowl defender. Told me the theory was let the Redskins move the ball up and down the field, and when they get in the red zone, they're going to implode because they didn't have a guy that could get separation to make a play. Well, now you got 4 of them. So we'll see. I actually think the Redskins offense has potential to be even better than what they've been. I really believe that.
All right, we got the draft about 13 days away. We'll dive into that next week with you. Always appreciate the extended time. Keep up the great work. Have a good holiday weekend. We'll talk next week, pal.
Good, man. Next time I come on, man, we're gonna have to have some champagne or something to celebrate the hours, man. That's big for you. That's huge.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're having fun with it. We're having fun with it, and we're very appreciative. Good decision, we think, by the station. So it's always fun to get that extra hour.
I concur. Couldn't happen to a better person, man. I'm proud of you.
All right, I appreciate it. Good talk. All right, thanks.
Take care.
You got it, Lake Lewis. Join us for a couple moments.